11, 1983. William Hurley
was accused of killing his wife, 34-year-old Kat Hurley, who disappeared 4.5 months ago.
In a fight over child support.
Despite a massive police search, Mrs. Hurley has never been found. No body, no blood, no murder weapon.
It was Hurley's 5-year-old daughter, Katie, who was the main witness against him. The fear is that a child could be scarred emotionally by the experience. But often, the child may be the only witness.
I really enjoyed watching this short documentary. I had my eyes glued to the screen the whole entire time. That I couldn't even take my eyes off it. It had my attention 100%. And I love the fact that the filmmakers put the archived footage in the very beginning so that my attention span, my interests, and that it was all there, and that I knew exactly what the story was going to be about and what the story was. I also love that when the narrator was speaking, that the way she talked, like, it flowed so seamlessly and perfect throughout the entire documentary, and it flowed perfectly with the footage that was put together.
I thought that in the very beginning, using the actual news footage and actual clippings that they had cut together to kind of set the scene or set the tone or set the story in a way, because it was like her story when she was young, was such a powerful way to start the documentary and to kind of do an intro to it. And if you didn't happen to know that story or recognize the name or anything like that, immediately kind of starting it off with this is who we're this is what we're talking about, this is who it is, this is the background, and showing that it was actual news clips was showing the level of attention that it had gotten. I thought it was just a really well done film. I thought that it showed a lot of respect and a lot of grace, and let her tell exactly what she wanted to tell instead of when she was so young and it was forced out of her. I really, really enjoyed it.
First off, I mean, hats off and condolences to the Hurley family. I know it's been a while, but that sort of pain and trauma, I'm sure never fully goes away, which leads me to one of the things I loved most about this, and as small and as insignificant as it may have seemed to most, but it's the one line right near the end about forgiveness and just forgiving the one time, forgiving for the one time something happened, not the several thousands of times you may have replayed it in your head. I thought that was just such an insightful and poignant line. That was just, wow. But that aside, I think the entire documentary was pieced together really well. It was compelling and interesting to follow, and just being let into someone's life that way it's a privilege, really. And wow, what a struggle for Kat, her whole life, just dealing with one thing after the other. Just so much sympathy for someone in that situation, and I think the filmmakers did a great job at portraying all that.
So touching. Kat was such an inspiration. I think she was very inspirational in telling her story, and you got to hear the different times in her life when she had to overcome things and get out of that victim mentality, and recognizing the strength that she had during those processes where she's like, wait, I'm not going to accept that. It was really touching. Her honesty was beautiful. It was great.
Yep, very honest and so vulnerable to share her story, and beautiful filmmaking, and just by showing what a courageous person Kat is. So
we appreciate your story, Kat, and may you find the love of your life, and may you step out of that victim role and continue seeing what an amazing...
I enjoyed hearing her story and the symbolism within, and just her spirituality about everything that had happened. Her spirit overall is really hardy, sturdy, resilient. It's really impressive that she's been through so much and still knows how to rally. So I like this one.
Really interesting story it kind of tells not her whole life story, but just her dealing with such a tragic thing at the beginning at such a young age, and growing up like this, and then just it was really powerful how I can't remember exactly how she said it, but I remember she said it was at that point at the end when she said about the therapist and telling her about pretty much just being able to move on past what she's been holding on to all these years. And the other thing I liked about the story too is just her drive to not give up and to not give in to feeling this way, and to not being one of those that just quits because it gets tough or she can't figure out what is happening. And that was a really powerful story, and seeing pretty much her whole life pushed into this short amount of time, but gave you a really good idea of the things that people go through, and nobody would ever know that unless something like this came out to enlighten people.
And it was very chilling and so personal, and she's so brave to just really tell all of her story. So I really enjoyed this. I think that I could see this as a full documentary.
Just the pacing of everything and her story was very well laid out, and you never got bored watching it. The pacing was excellent, and the different types of shots were always well thought out and added to the story and complemented the story of whatever part was being told right then. And one thing that really strikes me after thinking about it is, the other films in this LGBT short film festival are about being lesbian or gay and the trials that come along with that. And her movie wasn't about that at all. Her movie was about her trauma and an experience of healing from that. And the fact that she was a lesbian was totally just like an afterthought, or it was just accepted. And it made me so grateful that we live here in North America. I'm Canadian and you guys are American, and it's just so normalized here that it's not even a deal, and she got married and that wasn't a deal at all. And she was thinking how much she wanted to have a baby, and that was just so normal and fine. And so that was, I don't know if that was intentional or not. I mean, it was just her story and her part of her story, but it really is pause for thought of just how great that is, how grateful we need to be that it's okay for so many of us.
Really fascinating and sad and inspiring, and I hope she writes a book. It seems like she's a writer. I'd be fascinated to know more about her.
It's really an incredible story. There's so many lessons to be learned. I really wish this was like a full-length feature film. I mean, this was something that could have gone on for like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, just going through all the different things that this woman has been through. I'm actually ordering her book from Amazon to get more details about her life. I thought it was well done, and I just wish it would have been deeper. I think it's well done for a short film, but I think there's enough information there and enough material that you could make it into like a longer full feature documentary. So good stuff, and I look forward to more from you guys.